Most celebrity plane crashes don't begin with explosions or violent storms. They begin with something ordinary. A routine departure. A short coastal hop. A perfectly functional aircraft. And then, in seconds, everything ends. Today, 10 celebrity aviation disasters. 9 end in fatal impact. 1 pilot walks away. What separates that survivor has nothing to do with luck. In July 1999, JFK Jr. was flying a Piper Saratoga 2HP turbocharged Lycoming engine, 300 horsepower, cruising near 165 knots. The departure was daylight. By the time the route crossed open ocean, the sun had set. No horizon. No ground lights. The NTSB concluded spatial disorientation during a nighttime descent over water. The inner ear without visual reference feeds the brain false information. A slow, fatal spiral can feel completely level. The Saratoga was functioning normally. The conditions weren't extreme, but over dark water without instrument discipline, the margin disappears silently. In 1937, Amelia Earhart was flying a modified Lockheed Electra 10E twin Pratt & Whitney radials, producing 600 horsepower each, cruising around 155 miles per hour, with a maximum range of roughly 500 miles. On the final Pacific leg toward Howland Island, radio contact went intermittent, then silent. Fuel was tight. Navigation depended entirely on celestial fixes and radio bearings. No GPS. No backup. The Electra never arrived. The most accepted explanation is fuel exhaustion over open ocean. The aircraft was capable. The engines were reliable. Distance and no alternate airfields did the rest. In 2007, Steve Fossett departed a Nevada airstrip in a Bellanca Super Decathlon Lycoming engine, 180 horsepower, cruising near 130 miles per hour, and flew into the Sierra Nevada. The NTSB concluded the aircraft encountered mountain downdrafts descending faster than the airplane could climb. Adding full power doesn't solve that equation. The aircraft was working perfectly. The hazard was invisible from the cockpit and completely unforgiving once encountered. In 1964, Jim Reeves was flying a Beechcraft Baron 95 B-55 twin Continental engines, 260 horsepower each, cruising near 195 knots. Near Nashville, conditions were deteriorating. Not dramatic, just lowering ceilings and reducing visibility. The NTSB concluded loss of control consistent with spatial disorientation in IMC. 2 engines couldn't prevent that. Performance specs don't override what happens when orientation is lost inside cloud. In 1991, Senator John Hines was aboard a Piper Aerostar 601P twin turbocharged Lycomings, 290 horsepower each, cruising near 445 knots. After a gear indication problem, a Bell 423 helicopter was sent to visually inspect the aircraft in flight. The helicopter's rotor struck the Aerostar. Both aircraft crashed into a schoolyard, killing all 5 occupants across both aircraft and 2 children on the ground. The NTSB cited failure to maintain safe separation. No weather. No mechanical failure. One procedural decision that eliminated every safety margin instantly. In 1997, John Denver was flying a Rutan Long-EZ Lycoming engine, 160 horsepower, cruising near 165 knots. The aircraft had a known ergonomic flaw. The fuel selector valve sat behind the pilot's left shoulder. When the engine lost power over Monterey Bay, Denver likely reached for it. Rotating his body in the cockpit at low altitude over water caused a stall. The NTSB confirmed the aircraft hit the ocean. Cockpit layout redirected his attention for just a moment. At low altitude, attention is the only safety margin that matters. In 1935, Wiley Post was flying a nose-heavy experimental aircraft assembled from Lockheed components near Point Barrow, Alaska, Pratt & Whitney radial, 450 horsepower, with Will Rogers aboard. Shortly after takeoff, the aircraft lost control at low altitude and crashed. Takeoff is the most energy-constrained phase of flight. Experimental modifications at low altitude leave no buffer. In 2017, Roy Halladay was flying an Icon A5 Rotax 9112 engine, 100 horsepower, maneuvering at extremely low altitude over the Gulf of Mexico. The NTSB determined an aerodynamic stall during aggressive maneuvering. At 50 feet, the recovery window simply doesn't exist. And then there's Harrison Ford. In 2015, his Ryan PT-22 Recruit lost engine power immediately after takeoff from Santa Monica, radial engine, 160 horsepower. The temptation to turn back is almost universal. Ford didn't. He flew straight ahead, picked a golf course, committed early, and put it down hard. He survived. The NTSB found a carburetor failure. The mechanical event wasn't preventable. The outcome was entirely shaped by the response. That is the thread through every story here. Capable aircraft, experienced pilots, margins that vanished faster than anyone expected, except once.